Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is A Shot of History. My name is Clarence, and today we will be discussing the X-Men, and I can't wait. I've been a fan of the X-Men ever since I was a little kid. I practically grew up with them, watching the cartoon, reading books, reading graphic novels, and then extending beyond that right into actual regular novels as well. Like, I am an X-Men junkie. Like, I consume it in every form of media that it comes in. So the X-Men was a mutant hero group that was created by Jim Lee back in 1963. The original team consisted of 5 X-Men, Jean, Cyclops, Iceman, Angel, Beast, and Professor Xavier being their leader. They would fight mutants such as the Sentinels, they would fight Magneto, they would fight many different villains of the era, but unfortunately, the story did not take on there. That actual original story arc was canceled, and they would just do reprints for years later. But back in 1975, the new team, which would later be recanted to be the third team, but the second generation of X-Men, that consisted of mutants such as Storm, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Colossus, with the addition of Sunfire, Banshee, and Cyclops later joining on. This team would solidify the X-Men to be what we know them today, the X-Men. So during this arc, they went on many adventures. They fought the cosmic being known as the Phoenix. They fought the Brood. They fought Sentinels. They fought all types of heroes. Heroes. They actually fought villains, not heroes. My excitement is getting the better of me right now. But yeah, they fought all kinds of people. The Marauders, you name it. Like, they fought them, and they won. They kicked their behind. But the reason why I'm actually here today is just a little lead up to actually the 1992 series, The X-Men. That was phenomenal. That set in motion kids across the United States, across the world, and introduced them to the fantasy of the mutant hood, the X-Men, who had special powers. Some could have adamantium claws, healing factors, and hand sensors. You have Wolverine that was able to do that. Iceman with his cryokinesis. You had Jean Grey with her ability to read minds, levitate, and later to become the cosmic being, the Phoenix. You have Storm with the awesome ability to control the weather. That is my girl right there, Storm. I love me some Storm. But yeah, you have so many different mutants to choose from. You have Bishop with his ability to absorb and rechannel abilities. And if I went on and on and on, we would be here all day discussing the powers of the X-Men. But the reason for this video today is a little history on them, how we got to the animated series in X-Men 97. Now again, X-Men 92 started off with a phenomenal story, which was Jubilee running through the mall. She encountered a rogue and Storm shopping, runs into him, the Sentinel comes at him, and we get the first glimpse of Storm as she transforms into her iconic white battle suit with the lightning flaring all around her as she continues to, which would later become very iconic for her to speak, much like Black women do when you were little and your mom would tell you don't do something and you would get in trouble and you would get that talking to before it went down. Oh yeah, Storm is definitely all about that talking to. So yeah, she talks to the Sentinels and then she goes right into action. And from there, it just continued to roll for over 5 different seasons. Like, the X-Men had young kids like myself in a chokehold. We watched it. The first season, like I said, was phenomenal. 12 episodes, starting with the Sentinels. We actually went into the Juggernaut. We saw that. We got into Mystique and her brotherhood. We got into Magneto. We got into the Sentinels. We got into all kinds of varied things, the Friends of Humanity and all of that. We got to dive into social issues of the times, and you could see how mutants being oppressed, being a minority, how that played out not only in the comics, but in the animated series as well. This series was phenomenal to the point where people continue to talk about it 30 years after it was released. But when Disney decided to do a reboot, we were here for it. We were absolutely here for it. Like, chef's kiss. Like, it was no way people were not going to watch that. And to no one's surprise, it was a huge success, or is. We are currently 5 episodes in. And when I tell you that this is fast paced, that this, it's just phenomenal. In a nutshell, we come back, we see Storm and Bishop fighting the Friends of Humanity, and they are somehow have acquired salvage Sentinel parts. That story has yet to be revealed how they got them, but we know that they are dealing with Sentinel technology. And Storm and Bishop just come in and they begin to wreck the spot. And unfortunately, they didn't win their battle right away, but Cyclops came in and he put the boot on him. He let him know, hey, I'm Cyclops, I'm the leader of the X-Men, and I'm just here to take names and kick butt. And that's exactly what he did. That episode was phenomenal. Like, we get to the end of that, and the X-Men are once again, they found out where Master Mold was, where the Sentinels were being created in the desert. And it goes down. It really does go down. So they fly to this location. Sentinels come, they tear apart the X-Men. You got Rogue and Storm catching the X-Men for another Catch the X-Men day. And it goes in. So we immediately see the X-Men fighting. So this team consists of Gambit, Bishop, Cyclops, Wolverine, and Beast, Rogue. And we see them, they're fighting. And noticeably Storm is not there, but she is there, but she's not in that particular battle. So the X-Men, they're wrecking shop, and then the Sentinels come out the woodworks. They come out the sand, they come out the junk piles, they come from behind trees, grandmoms, you name it. They came from behind to kick the X-Men's butt. Cyclops is like, no. We cannot have that. We cannot have them. Give them the forecast. And at that time, that iconic Storm music, which has been changed from the original, but I'm loving it, that changed, and we hear a Storm quoting the ancient sands, heed my command. Reclaim these relics of hatred. And baby, that lightning flies down from the sky. It strikes the sand. It turns to glass. Crystal clear. You can see your reflection in that bad boy. Storm is not here to play Mohawk blowing in the wind. It's a story for another day. But that Mohawk is blowing in the wind. That cape is bellowing. And Storm stretches forth her hand and unleashes holy hell on these Sentinels. When I tell you she filleted them like a fish fry, nothing. And then we get this beautiful, iconic scene as they're sucked up into the sky, and then they just begin to fall. Boom, 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 boom. They were not playing. They came out the gate swinging with X-Men 97. That was just episode 1. Episode 2, which is a story of Trial of the Magneto, that's an iconic story as well. Here we see with the Trial of Magneto, we see that Magneto is in his purple outfit with the big M in the front of it. And Magneto's on trial because he's trying to become a good guy, and he wants to show the world not to fear him. Hey, I'm one of you. I was oppressed. I was just fighting for my people, but I'm willing to face the consequences of my action. So there is a trial going outside. People are looking like, nah, he doesn't deserve a trial. He's a monster. He should just be put down like the dog he is. But here in America, there is something that we don't do things that way. Everyone gets a trial. So Magneto got a trial, and he came out swinging. We see the Friends of Humanity in episode number 2. They begin to attack the trial because they don't think Magneto should be there. He doesn't get it. He needs to go. He has to die. So the Executioner comes in. He's in all this garb. He has his metal mask on, and he has his cape and bellowing, which they did introduce him in episode 1, but we don't get to see that it is the Executioner until episode 2, the Trial of Magneto. So, yeah, like, they're in there. The X-Men are now fighting, trying to protect the mutants, trying to protect everyone, trying to make sure that Magneto is safe, trying to make sure that the humans are safe. So Cyclops, he's in control, and he tells Beast, Rogue, Gambit, Morph, Wolverine, hey, Wolverine's not there, Wolverine's at the X-Men. Excuse me, I might have to edit that out later. But yeah, he tells the X-Men, we need you to hold the line. And so that's what they do until the Executioner gets through, and there he tries to shoot Magneto, and Storm takes the bullet for him. And for those of us that know, this neutralizer that Storm is shot with actually strips her of her powers. And we see that Magneto is using this opportunity to be grandiose as he is. Be like, okay, look what you've done to Storm. This is what you've done. We came here in peace. I could literally crush you if I want to, but I'm choosing not to because my friend Charles Xavier has trusted me with his X-Men to show you a better way, and that's what I'm here to do. So it ends. It ends right there. We see Storm is powerless. Beast has done the analysis on her blood. He's telling her, hey, it looks like you're a human. Like this could very well be permanent, which actually leads us into one of the more iconic storylines, Life, Death. They begin to touch on that episode or that particular story, and I like it because in this particular story, which goes into episode 3, actually it doesn't go into episode 3. I got ahead of myself here. Episode 3. So we see Storm is powerless at that time, but it actually goes into the Infernal Complex, which we see Mr. Sinister, we see a clone Jean Grey. We see known as Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, who gives birth to Cyclops' son, and we see that played out in the second episode too, where Jean is giving birth to Cable, Madeline Pryor giving birth to Cable, and yeah, we're delving into that story arc right now. We're delving into the whole Inferno complex. We're in finding out who Mr. Sinister is and all of that. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So yeah, just to wrap up the second episode, yes, Madeline Pryor does give birth to Cable. Wolverine takes her to the hospital. Cyclops is rushed away to go be with them. Madeline Pryor gives birth to Cable, Nathan Summers, and yeah, that was episode 2. So they packed a lot within those first 2 episodes. They touched on so many different storylines, and they do it beautifully. Because by the time we got to the 3rd episode of X-Men 97, they take a story that could literally have taken the entire story season to tell, but they actually wrapped it up in 32 minutes beautifully. They told the story, hey, this is what happened to Jean Grey. She was abducted by Mr. Sinister, who took her DNA. He cloned her, and he made Madeline Pryor, who not only had her powers, but had her memories, who actually believed that she was the real Jean Grey until he activated her. So during this time, we see that Jean Grey showed up at the mansion. They're looking like, who is this? Beast does another analysis like he always does, because Beast is just that dude. He's that scientific dude. Beast is looking like the Jean Grey laying here on this couch. This is the real Jean Grey. Everything, carbon copy, DNA, everything is telling she's age appropriate. This is her. She is definitely age appropriate. This is Jean. You, Jean Grey over there, who've been fighting with us for God knows how long, you're not the real girl. You're not her. You're just not her. And taking to the news, Jean Grey too. Madeline Pryor's like, no, I fought with y'all. I was the Phoenix. Like, what are you talking about? I don't, science be damned. I'm Jean Grey. But as the story progresses, we see that Sinister reveals that, no, you're not the real Jean Grey. Let me show you who you truly are. So we see Sinister infiltrates her mind. She takes her very own baby to him. The X-Men go after her and fight her in some type of cathedral. I don't want it to be a church, but it looks like it's a church. But some type of cathedral, and they begin to wreak havoc. Like, Magneto gets owned. She's like, you might be the master of magnetism, but I, Madeline Pryor, I have telekinetic powers. I can match your magnetism. I can levitate anything. You can only manipulate magnetic forces. And she spanks Magneto's tail. We also get a beautiful glimpse of her controlling Morph's mind, where he actually transforms into magic. And we get the horns, we get the sword, we get the sword play, and she's like going to town on them. And yeah, so then we get the real Jean Grey. She enters the fight. And she's at the X Mansion. She's however many miles away. She's like, okay, I don't physically need to be there. I'm Jean Grey. I'm that chick. She uses her telepathic abilities, and she communicates with Madeline Pryor. And they seem to have a pretty reasonable conversation. Like, hey, remember this. This is what happened when our best friend died. This is what went down with her. So we see that Madeline is open to it. And she does come to her senses. She's like, okay, yeah, I do remember that. Like, okay, that is me. Yeah. And this is my baby, and this man has this baby, and I do love this kid regardless of what. I need to protect the baby. So she then switches back to the side of good, and then her and Cyclops defeat Sinister. Unfortunately, he had that baby in some type of goo. He had that baby in some sort of stasis where it was receiving all types of DNA enhancements, and unfortunately, they stopped the process before it was done. And as a result, we see that Cable is now infected with a techno-organic virus that only the future may have the cure for. So her and Scott have to make the decision. We have to make sure that we look out for our baby, and they make the heart-wrenching decision to send their newborn baby into the future with the X-Men they just met, Bishop, in hopes that he will be safe, in hopes that they will find a cure, in hopes that he can one day be reunited with them. And that's how episode 2 ends. Sheesh. Yeah, the power storm, babies being sent to the future, Mr. Sinister showing up. Yeah, it's something. Yeah, so then we have episode 3. That was episode 3. I said episode 2, but that was actually episode 3. I'm getting ahead of myself again. And this video is turning out to be a lot longer than I expected it to. But I may have to chop this down into some pieces. So that was the first 3 episodes, guys. I will be back with episodes 4 and 5, I believe we are. Yeah. But yeah, hope you enjoyed.